my sweet YouTube friends. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my world in this small corner of YouTube. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Mia. I live in Denmark with my husband David and our 3 cats. I would love it if you'd consider subscribing to my channel. The subscribe button is right under the video. Next to it, you'll find a bell. If you ding that bell and choose all, you will be notified whenever I put up a new video. If you're back, hi family. I am so grateful that you're here and support me by watching my videos. Thank you. The video you are about to watch or most likely listen to is a part of a series I call Let's Read Together. It basically means that I'm reading your book from the public domain list. While listening, you can do your own craft like diamond painting, knitting, cross stitch, crochet, and other hobbies. You can also treat it like a podcast and listen while you take a walk, relax on your couch, or do chores around the house. No matter what, I hope you will enjoy this book, and don't forget to hit that like button, and I would love it if you would leave me a comment down below. Louisa May Alcott, Little Women, Chapter 7, Amy's Valley of Humiliation. "That boy is a perfect cyclop, isn't he?" said Amy one day as Laurie clattered by on horseback with a flourish of his whips as he passed. "How dare you say so when he's got both his eyes, and very handsome ones they are too," cried Jo, who resented any slighting remark about her friend. "I didn't say anything about his eyes, and I don't see why you need fire up and admire his riding. Oh my goodness! That little goose meant a centaur, and she called him a cyclops!" exclaimed Jo with a burst of laughter. "You needn't be so rude. It's only a lapse of lingy, as Miss Davis says," retorted Amy, finishing Jo with a Latin. "I just wish I had a little of the money Laurie spent on that horse," she added, as if to herself, yet hoping her sister would hear. "Why?" asked Meg kindly, for Jo had gone off in another laugh at Amy's second blunder. "I need it so much. I am dreadfully in debt, and it won't be my turn to have the rack money for a month." "In debt, Amy? What do you mean?" And Meg looked sober. "Why, I owe at least a dozen pickled limes, and I can't pay them, till I have money, for Marmee forbade my having anything charged at the shop. Tell me all about it. Are limes the fashion now? It used to be pricking bits of rubber to make balls," and Meg tried to keep her countenance. Amy looked so grave and important. "Why, you see, the girls are always buying them, and unless you want to be thought mean, you must do it too. It's nothing but limes now, for everyone is sucked them in their desk in school time and trading them off for pencils, bead rings, paper dolls, or something else at recess. If one girl likes another, she gives her a lime. If she's mad with her, she eats one before her face and don't offer even a suck. They treat by turns, and I've had ever so many but haven't returned them, and I ought, for they're a debt of honor, you know." How much will pay them off and restore your credit?" asked Meg, taking out her purse. "A quarter would more than do it, and leave a few cents over for a treat for you. Don't you like limes?" "Not much. You may have my share. Here's the money. Make it last as long as you can, for it isn't very plenty, you know." "Oh, thank you. It must be so nice to have pocket money. I'll have a grand feast, for I haven't tasted a lime this week. I felt delicate about taking any as I couldn't return them, and I'm actually suffering for one." Next day Amy was rather late at school, but could not resist the temptation of displaying with pardonable pride a moist brown paper parcel before she consigned it to the utmost recess of her desk. During the next few minutes, the rumor that Amy Marsh had got 24 delicious limes, she ate one on the way, and was going to treat circulated through her set, and the attention of her friends became quite overwhelming. Katie Brown invited her to her next party on the spot. Mary Kingsley insisted on lending her watch till recess, and Jenny Snow, a satirical young lady who had basely twitted Amy upon her limeless steak, promptly buried the hatchet and offered to furnish answer to certain appalling sums. But Amy had not forgotten Miss Snow's cutting remark about some persons whose noses were not too flat to smell other people's lime and stuck-up people who were not too proud to ask for them. And she instantly crushed that snow girl's hope by the withering telegram, "You needn't be so polite all of a sudden, for you won't get any." A distinguished personage happened to visit the school that morning, and Amy's beautiful drawn map received praise, with which honor to her foe regaled in the sound of Miss Snow's, and caused Miss Marsh to assume the airs of a studious young peacock. But alas, alas, pride goes before a fall, and the revengeful Snow turned the tables with disastrous success. No sooner had the guest paid the usual stale compliments and bowed himself out than Jenny, under pretense of asking an important question, informed Mr. Davis, the teacher, that Amy Marsh had pickled limes in her desk. Now, Mr. David had declared lime a contraband article and solemnly vowed to publicly peruse the first person who was found breaking the law. This much enduring man had succeeded in banishing chewing gum after a long and stormy war, had made a bonfire of the confiscated novels and newspapers, had suppressed a private post office, had forbidden distortion of the face, nicknames, and caricatures, and done all that one man could do to keep 500 rebellious girls in order. Boys are trying enough to hu- Boys are trying enough to human patience, goodness knows, but girls are infinitely more so, especially to nervous gentlemen with tyrannical tempers and no more talent for teaching than Dr. Blimber. Mr. Davis knew any quantity of Greek, Latin, algebra, and ologies of all sorts, so he was called a fine teacher, and manners, morals, feelings, and examples were not considered of any particular importance. It was a most unfortunate moment for denouncing Amy, and Jenny knew it. Mr. Davis had evidently taken his coffee too strong that morning. There was an east wind which always affected his neuralgia, and his pupil has not done him the credit which he felt he deserved. Therefore, to use the expressive, if not elegant, language of a schoolgirl, he was as nervous as a witch and as cross as a bear. The word limes were like fire was like fire to powder. His yellow face flushed, and he rapped on his desk with an energy which made Jenny skip to her seat with unusual rapidity. "Young ladies, attention, if you please." At the stern order, the bus ceased, and 50 pairs of blue, black, gray, brown eyes were obediently fixed upon his awful countenance. "Miss Marsh, come to the desk." Amy rose to comply with outward composure, but the secret fear oppressed her, for the limes weighed upon her conscience. "Bring with you the limes you have in your desk," was the unexpected command which arrested her before she got out of her seat. "Don't take all," whispered her neighbor, a young lady of great presence of mind. Amy hastily shook out half a dozen and laid the rest down before Miss Davis, feeling that any man possessing a human heart would relent with that delicious perfume at his nose. Unfortunately, Mr. Davis particularly detested the odor of the fashionable pickle, and disgust added to his wrath. "Is that all?" "Not quite," stammered Amy. "Bring the rest immediately." With a despairing glance at her set, she obeyed. "You are sure there are no more?" "I never lie, sir." "So I see. Now take these disgusting things two by two and throw them out the window." There was a simultaneous sigh, which created quite a little gust, as the last hope fled and the treat was ravished from the longing lips. Scarlet with shame and anger, Amy went to and fro 6 dreadful times, and as each doomed couple oh so plump and juicy, fell from her reluctant hands. A shout from the street completed the anguish of the girls, for it told them that their feast was being exulted over by the little Irish children, who were their sworn foes. This was too much. All flashed indignant or appalling glances at the intoxicable Davis, and one passionate lime lover burst into tears. As Amy returned from her last trip, Mr. Davies gave a portentous and said in his most impressive manner, "Young ladies, you remember what I said to you a week ago. I am sorry this had happened, but I never allow my rules to be infringed, and I never break my word. Miss Marsh, hold out your hand." Amy started and her, both hands behind her, turning on him an imploring look which pleaded for her better than the words she could not utter. She was rather a favorite with old Davis, as of course he was called, and it is my private belief that he would have broken his word if the indignation of one irrepressible young lady when had not found vent in a hiss. That hiss, faint as it was, irritated the irrisa- insatiable gentleman and sealed the culprit's face. "Your hand, Miss Marsh," was the only answer her mute appeal received, and, too proud to cry or beseech, Amy set her teeth, threw back her head defiantly, and bore without flinching several tinkling blows on her little palm. They were neither many nor heavy, but that made no difference to her. For the first time in her life she had been struck, and the disgrace in her eyes was as deep as if he had knocked her down. "You will now stand on the platform till recess," said Mr. Davies, resolved to do the thing thoroughly since he had begun. That was dreadful. It would have been bad enough to go to her seat and see the pitying faces of her friends or the satisfied eyes of her few enemies, but to face the whole school with that shame fresh upon her seemed impossible, and for a second she felt if she could only drop down where she stood and break her heart with crying. A bitter sense of wrong and the thought of Jenny Snow helped her to bear it, and, taking the ignominious place, she fixed her eyes on the stove funnel above what now seemed a sea of faces, and stood there so motionless and white that the girls found it very hard to study with that pathetic figure before him. During the 15 minutes that followed, the proud and sensitive little girl suffered a shame and pain which she never forgot. To others it might have seemed a ludicrous or trivial affair, but to her it was a hard experience, for during the 12 years of her life she had been governed by love alone, and a blow of that sort had never touched her before. The smart of her hand and the ache of her heart were forgotten in the sting of the thought, "I shall have to tell at home, and they will be so disappointed in me." The 15 minutes seemed an hour, but they came to an end, and at last, and the word recess had never seemed so welcome to her before. "You can go, Miss Morris," said Mr. Davis, looking as he felt uncomfortable. He did not soon forget the reproachful glance Amy gave him as he went, without a word to anyone, straight into the anteroom, snatched her things, and left the place for ever, as she passionately declared to herself. She was in a sad state when she got home, and when the older girls arrived some time later, an indignation meeting was held at once. Mrs. Marsh did not say much, but looked disturbed and comforted her afflicted little daughter in her tenderest manner. Meg bathed the insulted hand with glycerine and tears. Beth felt that even her beloved kittens would fail as balm for griefs like this. Joe wrathfully proposed that Mr. Davies be arrested without delay, and Hannah shook her fist at the villain and pounded potatoes for dinner as she had him under her pestle. No notice was taken of Amy's flight except by her maids, but the sharp-eyed demoiselles discovered that Mr. Davis was quite benign in the afternoon, also unusually nervous. Just before school closed, Joe appeared. wearing a grim expression as she stalked up to the desk and delivered a letter from her mother, then collected Amy's property and departed, carefully scraping the mud off her boot on the doormat as if she shook the dust off a place of her feet. Yes, you can have a vacation from school, but I want you to study a little every day with Beth, said Mrs. Marsh that evening. I don't approve of corporal punishment, especially for girls. I dislike Mr. Davis' manner of teaching and don't think the girls you associate with are doing you any good. So I shall ask your father's advice before I send you anywhere else. That's good. I wish all the girls would leave and spoil his old school. It's perfectly maddening to think of those lovely limes, sighed Amy with an air of martyr. I am not sorry you lost him, for you broke the rules and deserve some punishment for disobedience, was the severe reply, which rather disappointed the young lady, who expected nothing but sympathy. Do you mean you're glad I was disgraced before the whole school? Cried Amy. I should have not I should not have chosen the way of mending a fault, replied her mother. But I'm sure that I'm not sure that it won't do you more good than a milder method. You are getting to be rather conceited, my dear, and it is quite time you said about correcting it. You have a good many little gifts and virtues, but there is no need of parading them, for conceit spoils the finest genius. There is not much danger that real talent or goodness will be overlooked, long even as it is. Unconsciousness of possessing and using it well should satisfy one, and the great charm of all power is modesty. So it is, cried Laurie, who was playing chess in a corner with Joe. I knew a girl once who had really a remarkable talent for music, and she didn't know it. Never guessed what sweet little thing she composed when she was alone, and wouldn't have believed it if anyone had told her. I wish I'd known that nice girl. Maybe she would have helped me. I'm so stupid, said Beth, who stood beside him listening eagerly. You do know her, and she helps you better than anyone else could, answered Laurie, looking at her with such mischievous meaning in his merry black eyes that Beth suddenly turned very red and hid her face in the sofa cushion, quite overcome by such an unexpected discovery. Joe let Laurie win the game to pay for that praise of her Beth, who could not be prevailed upon to play for them after her compliment. So Laurie did his best and sung delightfully, being in a particularly lively humor, for to the Marshes he seldom showed the moody side of his character. When he was gone, Amy, who had been pensive all the evening, said suddenly, as if busy over some new idea, "Is Laurie an accomplished boy?" "Yes, he has had an excellent education and has much talent. He will make a fine man if not spoiled by petting," replied her mother. "And he isn't conceited, is he?" asked Amy. "Not in the least. That is why he's so charming and why we all like him so much." "I see. It's nice to have accomplishments and be elegant, but not to show off or get perked up," said Amy thoughtfully. "These things are always seen and felt in a person's manner and conversation, if modestly used, but it is not necessary to display them, said Mrs. Marsh, any more than it any more than it's proper to wear all your bonnets and gowns and ribbons at once, that folk may know you've got them," added Joe, and the lecture ended in a laugh.